We're talking today with business expert James Sedaris about how to move up in your career. We get a lot of questions about this subject. It seems to be important for our listeners who are just starting their careers, as well as for people who are mid-career. It's an important question, isn't it?
Yes, moving up is a hot topic. I want to focus today on people who start working with a company at a young age and who work their way to the top. Now, we're not talking about people who start their own company or people who run a family business that was established by their grandparents. We're talking about people who go to work in a company at a young age in an entry-level position and who end up running the company.
Now that's a rare person, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But it can happen. I'll give you an example. In 1980, an 18-year-old woman named Mary Barra got a job at General Motors, where her father worked. It is, of course, one of the world's biggest automobile companies. Over the next few decades, she worked her way up from her entry-level job. And in 2014, she became CEO, or Chief Executive Officer, the highest position in the company. She was the first female CEO in the car industry, which is traditionally dominated by men. Here's another example. Chris Rondeau went to work at a gym called Planet Fitness at the age of 19. He was a receptionist, greeting people, answering the phone, that kind of thing. 30 years later, he was named CEO of the entire Planet Fitness chain.
Wow! So what can we learn from these people?
Well, by studying people like them, I've come up with 5 pieces of advice to help you to move up in your career. The first piece of advice is to always have your eye on the next step in your career. In other words, when you get your first job in a company, maybe your first job after college, think about your next position. Where do you want to go from here? And how are you going to get there? Ask yourself whether you need any extra training to reach that next step. Your education isn't finished when you graduate from college. If you need to take a specialized course related to your job, take it. Consider it an investment in your career.
Keep your eye on the next step and invest in your career to get there. Great advice. What's your second piece of advice?
Find a mentor. By that, I mean find someone in the same field who is more experienced than you are and who can offer you appropriate advice at every step of your career.
Okay, but how do you find a suitable mentor?
Try to identify someone in your industry who understands your goals and who can be both honest and encouraging. This person could be someone you meet at work, or it could be a friend of your family. Ask that person if they would be willing to be your mentor. If they agree, decide how the mentoring experience will work. It can be as formal or as informal as you choose. There are no rules.
So you could meet every few months for a cup of coffee and chat about how things are going?
Exactly. Or if you're applying for a promotion and you want advice, you can set up a meeting to get feedback on your application.
Sounds like good advice to me. What's your third piece of advice?
This one is really important. Be careful with your online presence. What I mean by that is think about how you present yourself on social media. Be very careful what you post. When you apply for a job, the company may look you up on social media. They don't want to see you complaining about the place where you work. So, if you have a part-time job while you're a student and you hate it, don't tell your friends on social media. You never know who else might read it.
That's so true. Excellent advice.
Yes, it's all about protecting your reputation. This brings me to my fourth point. Be a team player. Let me explain. In school, you often work in groups. You develop effective communication skills and you learn how to compromise. It's the same at work. Treat your colleagues with respect. Participate in meetings. Don't get a reputation for being difficult to work with.
In other words, you don't want to be the person that everyone avoids. So we're coming to the end here. What's your final piece of advice for our listeners?
I think this might be the most important one of all. You need to find your own definition of success. What I'm saying is, ask yourself what success really means to you. For some people, success might mean a high salary, a luxury apartment, or an expensive car. For others, it might mean having enough time to spend with your family, or doing a job that makes a difference. On your way to the top, you might decide that being CEO is not what you want after all. There's nothing wrong with changing your definition of success.
That's an excellent point to end on. Thank you, James. We've been talking to business expert James Sedaris.